Hello, everybody, and welcome to the White Hatter YouTube News Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Darren.
On today's show, we're talking about the definition of hacking and how some people kind of confused about that. We're talking about a $35 million bank heist involving voice spoofing.
$35 million.
Privacy with 7-Eleven in Australia.
That's an interesting.
And we're talking about Facebook new policy changes on harassment, which may not be fair to everybody.
No.
Let's get into the news show, shall we?
In the news.
First news topic we want to talk about from last week is Missouri governor is calling for criminal charges against a journalist who found social security numbers exposed on public website involving teachers at a public education teaching school. Journalists found in the raw HTML code of the web page that it had exposed personal information of staff members. And, well, the governor basically said it was hacking and they should be criminally charged, essentially what they were saying, simply because they pressed F12 on their keyboard.
No. I think what they're trying to do is trying to gaslight their population over the fact that maybe their website wasn't as secure as it should have been. And as a result, like, it's not a hack if you push F12.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or right-click and inspect web source. I mean,
like, what?
Someone's been watching too many hacking movies. Anything that involves lines of code must be hacking, right? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends upon what information was leaked.
Well, it was social security numbers of staff members.
Oh.
So,
interesting.
And now I think if there is to be investigation, it should be, as you alluded to, why in the first place was a government website having this personal information public available to everybody?
Again, I just think this is gaslighting to try and overshadow the fact that their website wasn't properly secure, and as a result of that, there was a vulnerability, and somebody did something that anybody can do. It's not a hack, right? It's not as if they're going in and trying to figure out passwords and use password breakers and try to change. No, they just hit, what was it, F12?
F12 or right click inspect.
Old people. I gotta be careful. I'm one of those old people now, right? But my God.
But at least you understand that anything publicly available is anything you access is publicly available is not a hack. It's just
it would be interesting to know what political party he is, because something tells me it may start with an R because they hate journalists, right? So, but anyways, just saying.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
Yeah, interesting, certainly.
I don't think that would fly up here in Canada. Just saying.
I'm sure there'd be some politicians who would define that as hacking.
I'm sure.
For whatever reason they so choose to define it as hacking.
Yeah. What's your definition of hacking?
Unauthorized access.
That's simple.
That's locked behind, that people can't readily have access to.
Right.
Without proper authorization.
So it's not open sourced.
Precisely.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Pretty simple definition. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's like the simplest reductionist definition of a hack.
Okay.
Yeah.
The what?
Reductionist?
Reductionist. Is that a word?
Yeah, reduction. It's a form of thinking where you can, you reduce things to its fundamental components.
Oh, kind of like you do on a stove when you're making au jus.
I guess because you are reducing the water, which is.
I'm just trying to put it in words that you can understand. Food. Right?
Food.
So.
Food. It's like science in terms of why, biology, you rank things into certain categories.
Oh.
You can reduce it down to class,
we're getting
phylum.
too deep. It's Monday morning. We're getting too deep. Right.
Next news topic.
I like his hat.
Bank robbers in Middle East reportedly cloned someone's voice to assist with a $35 million heist.
Again, I'm just gonna do it. Do. This reminds me again of the spy movies that are out there where they say, okay, we got to get a voice because they're using voice recognition as an entry into a safe. So I want you to go and talk to this person. I need you to get them to say this word, and this word. We'll audio tape it, and then we'll splice it together, and then we'll use that to break into the safe.
Is voice audio recognition anything that's actually used in real life to access secure places nowadays?
Hello, Siri.
Yeah, but I mean, like secure business environments.
I don't know.
I
don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
In the security work we've done, I've yet to come across any legitimate, voice activated security lock for anything. I mean, I could be wrong. There could be something out there, but I haven't come. I mean, this is nothing new though. I mean, this is a recent news story, but we have seen voice spoofing back in the old days of hacking, where you would take someone's audio recording.
Sure, hacking? You sure it's hacking that we're talking about now?
Well, it's human hacking.
Okay. Social engineering.
Yeah, in that they do not have authorized access in order to transfer this money, but they were able to convince somebody to scam them. And you would see old school hacking or manipulation
social
or
engineering.
Scamming,
social
where
engineering.
you would take audio clips of somebody, like
social
you said.
engineering.
Yeah, exactly. Where you take audio clips.
Say social engineering. Thank you.
Where you would take audio clips of somebody, splice it up, and you do a playback through like an audio deck. Well, now this is just easy because there's actually commercial products that can do this for you.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
So
if you're doing a podcast or something like that and you say something you shouldn't, you can cut it out and then use the software to reinsert.
Yeah, there's commercial software now you can purchase for if you're doing a podcast, like I mentioned. If you said something or you want to repeat something or change something in your podcast, you can just cut out the audio. You input your own voice. It trains to your voice, and you type something out, and the software will say something in your voice.
So can we purchase this software? Because maybe I can make a tape and send it to Beth to do a phone call. She's gonna think it's me. Hey honey, it's Darren. I'm just out in the school working. Meanwhile, I'm out with the boys somewhere. What do you think? It could work. No,
it could work. But I mean,
not that I'm going out with the boys much anymore because of COVID.
Yeah,
but,
true.
Anyways.
But it's this is not something. I would argue probably these people could very well be using that very same software that you can just commercially purchase. It's not that expensive, from what I recall.
God, we're talking about spoofing voice. We're talking about those masks that we did a couple of shows ago and stuff. I mean, this is like real world spy stuff, man. No? Movie stuff.
If you were to film
movie stuff.
If you were to film a spy movie today using just readily accessible technology, and then you take that movie and you show it like 20 years ago, it'd be the best spy movie ever.
I know, it's true.
But it's all readily accessible technology.
It's true. Speaking of that, do you see William Shatner, Captain Kirk, went into space?
Now the oldest person going up in space. Yes.
Yeah. Apparently he saw death. He said that's what it was. It was very enlightening for him. Anyways, a little off topic. Squirrel. I took you off topic.
Yes. I mean,
just saying, 20 years ago or whenever Star Trek, it was more than 20 years ago. Just think about, the handheld tricorders. Well, now cell phones, right? Like I'm still waiting for him to do the transporter, right? Where we can beam ourselves anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Right? I think they tried it in Willy Wonka, right? Remember where they Wonka fishing?
Oh, yeah. Next article.
Fine.
7-Eleven breach customer privacy by collecting face imagery without consent. Now, this is 7-Eleven in Australia.
Good day, eh? For the people down in Australia, good day, eh? I added the A in there because we're Canadian. So, good day, eh? See what I did? Connected the two.
From June 2020 to August 2021, 7-Eleven was conducting surveys that required customers to fill out information on tablets with built-in cameras. Obviously, this is where things kind of take a turn from
did the people know that they were being recorded?
Well, these tablets, which were installed in about 700 stores, capture facial images at 2 points when they opened the survey and they closed the survey.
Did they know that?
Well, according to 7-Eleven, is that they informed customers because it was on their website, which is where the survey was hosted.
Was it informed consent?
But according to the Privacy Commissioner in Australia, the information was not present on the survey, and the survey didn't provide any information.
So it wasn't informed consent.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the commissioner was like, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Basically, this could be doable if when they open the survey, there's a big pop-up that goes, hey, hello.
Just to let you know, we're capturing your face. Is that okay? Yes or no?
And
no.
Explaining for the purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
For how the face is being used and collected, which obviously didn't happen. I mean, if you actually go through the terms of service, maybe you can get there, but it wasn't informed.
I just this kind of reminds me, on the weekend I read an article about how Russia now on their subway and tram systems, they're all using facial recognition now. You don't even need a pass anymore, right? You just walk in and recognize your face, and boom. That's kind of scary though, right? It's like Big
China
Brother.
does that now too.
Yeah, but again,
and there's a couple schools in I think in Ireland. As of recent, I saw an article where they were talking about how students, to get their lunch in a faster, more safe way, because there's no transaction of money for COVID, is they just use Face ID in order to you walk into lunch in order to maximize students to get food out faster, to feed students faster, so they have more time to eat.
Why not just use a QR code? Why not you just use a tap? Why do you need your face to do that?
Well, because in terms of a tap, you can just give your card to the student behind you, and you just all share the same code.
Yeah, I'd rather do that though. Like, big deal. Like, what's happening with all the facial recognition? Who's collecting it? Where's it going?
Well,
is it Clearview?
I don't think it's Clearview.
Yeah.
No.
I just, again, I say this all the time. With the convenience of technology comes risk to privacy, right? And I think we keep going down this slippery slope. Like, don't get me wrong, I love technology, as you know, right? Like, I use facial recognition on my phone, right? But for some of these things, I think we're just starting to go down this path where we're accepting that that's just the way it is, not understanding maybe the bigger issue surrounding that. Like in Russia and China, it's the government that owns everything. So basically what you're doing is you're giving them bio-information, facial recognition on who you are.
Yeah, but they already have that anyways.
Do they?
When you travel.
Do they though? Do they have everybody's? Probably not. But if you're using a subway and that kind of, or China, where cameras are on every street corner now, right? Like, they're scanning everybody now. It's like, that's so Orwellian in nature, right? Like, it's kind of Big Brother when you think about it. And how can government? Oh, and by the way, brings up another point. Let's just go on a side view here. I read another article this weekend, very reputable source, saying that once Apple had announced that they were going to do that child sexual abuse material, CSAM material, that governments were already talking about how can we use that technology to our advantage to do other things, right? So that's why I'm a little hesitant about giving government the ability to store facial recognition and other biometrics on us. Just saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where's my hat? Where's my tinfoil hat?
I'm concerned, but I'm more concerned with not so much the information being collected, but more so how it's being used.
But it's one and the same, because in order to use it, you need to collect it, right?
Yeah.
And so if they are collecting it, where is it being stored? What's the security like? Who has access to it?
But if all those things are kept in check, and if it was perfect, and there was no
and
human,
who's going to check the government?
Precisely. If there are proper checks and balances, everything's properly disclosed, properly secured, if all those things, and there's no human manipulation involved, there's no ulterior motives, would collecting Face ID as a form of identification be okay?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like I say, don't get me wrong, I use it now to get into my phone, right? Facial ID and stuff. But I just don't know. You hear all the time governments saying they'll never do it, or they won't do something that everybody's concerned about, and then all of a sudden, poof, they do it, right?
Yeah.
And we see agencies, we see private industry doing the same thing, right? So it's just, I don't know. I don't want to sound like the Debbie Downer right now.
Yeah. Now look who's talking.
I know.
Look who's talking.
But with the convenience of technology comes risk to privacy, and I don't think we're giving enough lip service to that specific issue, because I think we're in today's environment and world where everything is so quick, right? Things happen so quickly. It's globally faster is better, right? And so, but with that, how's it affecting our privacy and our security? What are we giving up to do that? And should we feel comfortable about being able to give that up in order to get the convenience? Those are some deeper thoughts.
Well,
God, it's Monday. I can't believe I'm having these, like, oh my God, that's deep.
Time is money.
It is.
Time is money both for organizations and for consumers and workers.
Yeah, I know.
So, unfortunately, it's all a complete negative feedback loop.
I mean, look at what we're using technology right now, right? Like, just look at all the technology we're using, right? It's just, I mean, I love tech. I think tech has made the world a better place. But with the convenience of technology comes vulnerabilities, especially to our privacy, especially when it comes to government and private business collecting personal identifiable information, right? So,
okay. Well, speaking of private business, let's talk about Facebook.
woohoo! And again, we use Facebook, right? I mean, for its purpose, and we know that whatever we're posting on there is public. Like we just know that. So what's going on here?
So Facebook, according to changes in their harassment policies, as they announced last week, Facebook's global head of safety stated that they are essentially identifying certain public figures and protecting them from hate and harassment.
Okay.
Where this content will be removed automatically.
If I had hair, pull it out. Like, number one, how are they defining who these special public figures are?
Yeah, that's what people are kind of pointing the finger at. And
number two, why should they be any different than the rest of us mere mortals? Why shouldn't Facebook is admitting they got the technology to do this?
In that they could basically apply this to every person on the platform.
Exactly. Like, why not? Do you not think that would be the right thing to do, Facebook? Is maybe apply this across the entire platform for everybody. Why should this group be any more special than this group? Like, that's not good. Yeah, maybe public figures do get attacked more often. Sure, maybe, right? But so does little Johnny in middle school or high school, or little Susan, right? When it comes to cyberbullying, where they're using the platform to target others online, right? So again, I just think they've proven that they got the technology to do this. But number one, who are they going to decide who these public figures are? But number two, if you have the technology to apply to these public figures, well, then why not apply it to everybody on your platform, to all your customers? Is that not the right thing to do?
Well, I take this in terms of the argument. Let's say there's a public venue that's offering speaking engagements, and they only allow certain types of people to speak at a certain event.
Yeah, but
which is as an organizer, is a prerogative to choose who you accept or allow onto your premises.
Yes, but but what you're explaining there is an event where you only have a certain limited number of people who are allowed in. Facebook is a public worldwide platform.
Yeah, but it's not a public utility.
No, but it's a public worldwide platform. So again, if they're going to apply, and they know that issues surrounding harassment, cyber harassment, is just not for those who are public figures. It can be for anybody and everybody. So why not take the technology that you obviously own and can use and works, because you're saying it does here, and apply it to everybody on your platform? This one frustrates me. Again, we use Facebook. I think Facebook is good for what it is that we use. We understand there is no such thing as privacy on that platform. Mm-hmm. We understand that they're gathering stuff and using it to their financial benefit as a company, because that's how they make their money. It's a free platform. So we understand all that stuff, right? But again, if we know that the platform is used for cyber harassment, cyberbullying, digital peer aggression, as we like to call it, so why not apply it to everybody on the platform? Yeah. Did you just agree with me?
I agree.
Oh, okay.
But isn't that just business as it is anyways? In that you see a lot of businesses in that they have 3 different tiers of a service, but the difference is minimal.
But don't you think that no matter what the tier, neutralizing cyber harassment or digital peer aggression should be the goal?
I agree. From an ethical standpoint, I totally agree.
Ethical and moral, yeah.
And moral.
Yeah.
I totally agree that Facebook implementing this strategy in order to protect all people from harassment should be the thing. But there's nothing stopping them from not doing that.
I know. It's some of these, again, we're getting in the argument, are these companies too big, right? Like we watched on the weekend, we watched Source Code, the Google story about how Google Earth was formed. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't
yet. Netflix. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's a 4-part series, right? It's kind of a polemic documentary kind of thing.
Right.
But it talks about how this small company in Germany actually created the source code for Google Earth, and Google stole it from them. like they weren't hired by Google to do it. They created it. They went around the world talking about it. And then an employee with Google, or a person who wasn't an employee with Google at the time, but was a guy in Silicon Valley, saw this stuff, was talking to him about, hey, how does this work? And then he went to Google and said, hey, listen, Google, I got a great idea for you. So Google took it and then developed Google Earth. They went to court, the Supreme Court in the United States, and unfortunately they lost their case, right? But still, it's
which,
just like,
I mean,
brutal.
that makes sense. Because much like in the drug industry, if you change a little bit of piece of genetic material or whatever,
it no longer falls within the patent.
Yeah, exactly.
But when
so
you
all
look
Google has to do is change it a little bit, and therefore,
what was really cool is they actually did a side by side of what this company did, and it's identical in almost every way.
Exactly.
Right?
Facebook came from the same background too. Facebook stole material and it used that from someone else's idea. Although it is coded differently, the premise of the idea was somebody else's.
It was pretty cool because the same group who developed this software, they pitched the idea to the airlines about putting small monitors in the head seats. When you're sitting down, you know how you can look at where you are in the world and watch movies. And the airlines at the time said, are you crazy? Nobody will ever go for that, right? Like these guys were forward thinkers, right? Like they really were. And it was really sad to see how they were taken advantage of, because it wasn't just right. Much like this isn't right. That's where I'm kind of a little bit of a tangent again. But I mean, again, it's just not right. If you're going to shield public figures from cyber harassment and digital peer aggression, why not do it for everybody on your platform?
Yeah,
thus endeth the sermon.
The whole question I would have is why? Why Facebook? Why? Like what is?
Why what?
Why the reason to only have certain people protected under this shield?
Yeah.
Just why?
So you and I are
Is there a mechanical? Because Facebook could come back and go, well, the processing power is too much to apply for everybody because it requires a lot of artificial intelligence.
But yet they can monitor everybody, right? Like, give me a break.
Well, there's a difference between monitoring and then processing. In that you can monitor and just look at something, but in order for you to make interpretations on that, it takes processing power.
Yeah, they're
so
big
Facebook,
enough.
I'm assuming they are, but if I was Facebook, I would probably say, yeah, there's a lot of power for how many billion people who use Facebook.
And then unfortunately, I would say, how many billions of dollars do you make? Get your server farms up to speed and make it happen.
Yeah. But then Facebook would come back and probably go, well, we would have to have a paid service then, where, if you want to be in this protective shield, it's now a $2 a month subscription fee.
Well, then at least that's an option.
See, there we go.
Right? See, at least that's an option, right? And I would think that there are going to be some people are going to go, I like that option.
Yeah.
Right? So you got a free option, you got a paid wall option, right? So I just think that there's some. Now I know that some social networks in the past have tried the paid side,
and they failed.
And they failed, right?
Because they couldn't get people. Because
everybody wants free.
Yeah, and if you are on a paid platform and you need to communicate with friends, it's not a big deal for a friend to quickly create a Facebook account in order to share something you want to share with them. But it's a much bigger sell going, oh yeah, I'm on this premium service.
Right.
Well, your friend's not going to pay however many dollars a month in order to sign on and be on that service.
Right.
It's just a user acquisition, and that people in the paid wall can't talk to people outside the paywall.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe there needs to be a freemium option where you can, the base level of Facebook is free, but you have the premium version of Facebook. I know Twitter has been kind of playing around with, whatever they call Twitter Blue.
Yeah, I do think that given the GDPR in Europe, I think a lot of these companies are now starting to tighten things up, right? Like I do give full credit to the GDPR in Europe and what it is that they've done in causing a lot of these changes to happen. So, but anyways. Shame on you, Facebook. I mean, you should be applying this to everybody, my opinion, right? Because you know what? Brandon is no different than whoever your public figure is going to be, or, little Betty or little Steven over here is being digitally peer aggressed on your platform is no different than the Queen of England, in my opinion. So why shouldn't we be protecting them? Just saying.
Exactly. And that's our news this week.
Woohoo! Hey, I understand we've moved over to a new video platform now.
Well, we use both. So, I mean, we just reconfiguring some components of what we're doing.
Teach me how to use it.
Yeah. Gain some things, lose some things. But overall, we're having some upgrades coming into place on our live programs.
Pretty cool.
Which is super exciting.
Super exciting.
All righty.
On behalf of myself, I'm Darren.
And Brandon, thank you all so much. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye now.
See ya.